one reason that infants, just babies that are a few months old, are fascinated by black and white. The thinking goes that they're basically trying to figure out where one object or one thing stops and the next thing starts. So when you have a little baby that's looking at like a bunch of black and white stripes, really they're doing nothing less than basically parsing the world into discrete entities. They're trying to figure out how things are different. And this was totally borne out with our baby, who would just stare at this white wall we had with black pictures all over it. So they're constantly, staring at these things. She would stare at them for what would be an adult time hour. In baby time, it's like 30 seconds. And you're just fascinated by them. They're trying to figure out how things work. Another thing I learned was that, and apparently this claim is actually somewhat controversial, apparently even very young babies, a few hours old, there's some experiment that says that they can mimic human facial expressions. So they did an experiment where they take a baby, in some cases I think one was 4 hours old up to much, much older, and they would do something like they'd look at the baby and they'd open their mouth or stick out their tongue, and occasionally the baby would mimic. And the claim was that the babies would do this often enough that it wasn't just random, the baby was doing something with its stupid little face. That they were actually trying to mimic a human facial expression, which is really, when you think about a baby that's 4 hours old, this is insane, right? Because this baby has never seen a human face before and probably isn't even aware that it has a face, right? This baby has been in the womb for 9 months and has no really a well understood way, unless it's some kind of hardwiring, to mimic the expression. And this sounds crazy, and some people, I found out after reading this, that this claim is not widely accepted, but apparently there's some evidence that this is the case. And another thing that really fascinated me was that something about how babies acquire language. And that's apparently when babies are very, very young, they can differentiate between all kinds of language sounds, all kinds of phonemes. And it's only after they get to around 6 months or so that they're able to, they basically lose some of that ability to differentiate between different sounds as they get accustomed to their native language. So for example, a baby raised in a Japanese-speaking household before roughly 6 months old can differentiate between L and R sounds, but after like 6 months or so loses that ability.